Ron, should South Africa suffer the same fate of failed states from variety of African countries? If I get your question correctly, I would say it's South Africa's choice. South Africa, they can learn and reason from what people like ourselves, the Zimbabweans, the Congolese, the Ethiopians, Somalians, Libyans, Mozambicans, Malawians, a variety of people have been going through and are going through. So we can wait to find out, but then everything would have fallen apart. So there's still years away, from that happening, but with the changes in the foreign policies, rise in crime, gender-based violence, ongoing flip-flopping of issues, be it on a topper level, be it on the ground level, that can fasten the process. It's mostly black people who would have eventually not reasoned with oneself, who would have not come together, to find ways to go through the maze of pain and come out victorious. So perhaps hunger would have defeated the people. So it's deeper than what is being portrayed to be. So the weaker will be the targets. But South Africa don't even have to go through any fate because it's such in a good state still. But you can see that there's so many forces, and these forces has to be addressed and stopped because they're ruining a whole country for a whole lot of people. So South Africa don't have to go through that fate, but these are choices. Zimbabwe takes blame in just thinking they're still in power as the government like that, because being in power by force is not really in power, it's just tyranny. Ignoring their people's issues for a very long time, force is how things works. So Zimbabwean people are stuck, mostly. We're stuck not because we can't help ourselves, we can. By an intellectual capacity of thinking, you have to fight or sometimes live to fight another day. So what gains will come from fighting, because that just further defeats the purpose. The tensions are a variety. So the tensions being a variety of things, we can blame Zimbabwean government, for how their people have been displaced and how the people find themselves in trouble. But the elements of xenophobia, hate, and witch hunt cannot be directly Zimbabwe's fault, because these issues is touching all Zimbos, documented or not. So then the blame is a shared blame between Zimbabwean government, South African government perhaps, and majority not majority actually, the portion of our black people who are causing all major problems, from the looting to whatever you want to think of. So when one take law into his own hands, then it becomes a whole different issue. So Zim is to be blamed for a lot of things. But you see, for people, a government that don't want to take responsibility, or even hear its people, never heard its people, I don't see how one cannot reason with such to understand, okay, so the good people, the legal, the documented, will need some sort of protection, because look at education, these books, whatever, technology, it's not built by one people. It's different types of people who are protected in different types of places to be able to develop. So if we Africans just think of, we are hungry, or I don't have this car, or I don't have that shoe, then we're so still in chains, better off on a plantation then, because it should be far than that. It should be wisdom, it should be education, it should be wanting to see our people grow. So Zimbabwe will take a lot of blame for a lot of things, but when our South African brothers and sisters, for example, some of them go out there and cause unnecessary sleepless nights for majority of our African brothers and sisters, that won't be good, and it cannot be seen as good. I would say let law do what it's supposed to do, and in its greater capacity let it function, so that everybody can feel protected, can be protected, and the country can just move forward. I want to finish off with foreign investments, and to try to get you out to understand how foreign investments are important, because most businesses are with major foreign investments. People bring investments, organizations, unity and direction. So without a lot of people like this, who are legal, documented, sometimes there won't be certain investments to come here. When we talk of investments, we're talking different buildings, different companies that are here. Those are investments made on behalf of the people, to understand that, okay, when everything is running okay, then they will at least get their investments back. So there's a lot of South Africans who relies also on these types of investments to work out, so that they can keep on going with their businesses. So chaos will close all businesses, and then will cause Johannesburg, KZN, for example, where major issues will be coming from. Just an example, Port Elizabeth, it can be Cape Town. If we're so unreasonable, then they pull investments out. So then we will start to have this local migration, which will ultimately be bad, for the people. So then nothing will be good there. So imagine the whole KZN flocking to Cape Town. Already the shortages of this and that, housing and this and that and that. The whole Port Elizabeth to Cape Town, the whole Johannesburg to Cape Town, or the whole Cape Town to Johannesburg, the whole Cape Town to Port Elizabeth. It's impossible. So then people will anyway then start to fight each other. You don't understand each other. Scarcity of resources, space. It's not good. Rentals. The foreigners, they are renting. They pay more money. They pay a lot of money. Not more. A rent is a rent. But their whole living here is on rent normally. So they will always need to rent. And this is public money, and that benefits the society. So if you have a home, you're renting to someone who's legal and documented, you have money coming in. Many people I know have got residential houses whereby students are in, normal people are in, working class, and majority will be Africans. So some of these rentals are sometimes steep, depending on where you'll be staying, but still the people will need some sort of income. A majority of sales relies on rent paid by these people to earn a living, and when they earn a living they pay tax, which ultimately then will contribute, and some of these monies they contribute to the grant, the 350 rand that people are getting this day, and it could have been created from a certain fund, but then the program kept on going because there has to be money somewhere, and normally it's tax, so fight crime, not others' right to earn a living, because if you're gonna fight other people's right to earn a living, we'll be entering dangerous territories as a people. And when there's nothing else, to lose, people, and nothing to even seem like to gain, then those territories will be then difficult. So the foreigners, they may not be understood or they were not explained, but I don't know of any country, even the ones that are wealthy, that can work without foreign investments, because look at even like European Western states. They have investments in Africa, as Africa will have investments there, because that's just how it works. So you drive business here, you drive business there. But if there were no Africans in Europe, Europe will find it difficult sometimes to trade with Africa. So they would need that type of migration, different types of investments to happen so that people can collate, relate, communicate. So it's a lot of understanding that we will need to put before we put feelings, because I think a lot of people, they put feelings, but yeah, migration of Africans is it is something to be looked into, controlled, documented, but it's migration of anyone around the world, and we shouldn't pinpoint or pick a certain group, or target a certain people. We should address wrong for wrong, right for right, and work together to improve that which is not correct and try to make it correct. I'm more about let's work for solutions, instead of just finding problems. So solutions over feelings, mind over